the big red truck. Sometimes when we're on holidays traveling around, or even for a day drive, we just come across a scene like this truck here, the big red truck. But getting a great image of this vehicle isn't that easy. You might think like you're just going to jump out of the car and take a snapshot. But what happens if you just take a snapshot and you rush yourself? Now these photos I'm going to show you of this big red truck were taken during the Easter school holidays this year. We travelled down to Armidale and we were going to visit the Godswick Chapel. It took us quite a drive out and we took the wrong road, but the wrong road turned out to be the right road. And we came across this scene late in the afternoon. All I had was my Nikon Z6II and the Nikon 24 to 85mm. Now normally when I photograph something like this, I like having an ultra wide angle lens, like the Nikon 17 to 35 that I have. It's great because you can get so much dynamic. It really emphasizes you can get really close to your subject and it really sort of gives oomph to your subject. But I didn't have it. This is where a lot of people think that when they come across a scene like this, to get a really interesting photo, you need an ultra wide angle lens. You don't. What you need to be is creative. And I'll show you how within a 5 to 6 minute time frame, I took some great photos because I took it from all angles so that when I got home, I could choose the best images. But I'll also show you at the end how you can be creative sometimes. For myself, I don't do this very often, but sometimes changing the sky or deleting some of the background, it gives your image a greater emphasis. So that's what I'll show you at the end. So really all we see is the big red truck. Let me show you the sequence that I took the photos in and also the downfalls until I got the right image. And because I wasn't using an ultra wide angle lens that day, just the Nikon 24 to 85mm, I set my camera at f11. If I was using my Takina ultra wide, f5 or f5.6 would have given me a huge amount of depth of field. And this is where you have to be careful because if you're not using an ultra wide angle lens, your depth of field will be very narrow. If I was just using, for example, f5, I wouldn't have had the whole truck in focus. And this is what I wanted. I wanted the whole truck in focus. So let's take a look at these 8 images. So this is the first image that I took. And now the sun is shining, you can see directly on the truck. Then I start walking towards the left. It looks very nice. I'm shooting at around shoulder height. And now I've just gotten lower just a little bit more. You can see that. Now I've lowered myself a little bit more. Lowered even more. I've raised up a little bit, but I've come to the left a bit more to get a bit more emphasis on the truck. Now I'm just straight on. And the reason I've shot here in portrait orientation is because we had our car just on that side of the frame. And I didn't want to include the car. And then I walked in front of the truck just about head on. So you can see 8 photos, 8 totally different photos. Which one do you think, leave in the comments before you watch any further, which one do you think out of those 8 photos I chose? I chose 2. Just leave it in the comments, which one do you think? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8. Now let's go back and I will show you why I feel that some of these photos aren't good. My channel is all about helping photographers get better images, and sometimes it's hard to do. Like, it's a lot of live and learn, being more creative. And if you come across a scene like this and you've never shot, let's say, the big red truck before, how are you going to know which is the better frame to shoot? Now this looks quite nice, but there's no real emphasis on this photo here. You can see it's just a big red truck. There's just no wow factor in it. This one here, a little bit better. When you're photographing like cars and all that, think about that we look at things in a 3-dimensional. If you're shooting head on, then it's 2-dimensional. You want depth, you want that wow factor, but I'm too high. Now, I've come in a little bit more. And here, if I had my Takina 17 to 35 on me, I would have been much closer. But we make do with what we have. Don't get caught in the trap of saying, well, I can just zoom in. If you zoom in, you'll get a much flatter image. So stay the widest of your lens that you can. Now, you can see I've lowered myself. And what happens when you lower yourself? Your image tends to pop more. And that's what I wanted in this. And it's more center in the image. You can see there's a fence line there. Now I'm really low to the ground, but there's one flaw to this image. I don't have enough foreground on the front of the truck. The truck is right near the edge of the frame, and there's so much dead space behind the truck. This is my best image of the day. I'm low, I'm about a third in, I've got quite a bit of fence there, and the truck just looks awesome. Look in the background, there's that dead tree to the right of the truck, there's a power line just sticking up, just slight distracting. I'm not saying the image is not good. I wanted today to show you that sometimes we can just delete a little bit of the background and just be artistic. Now this last image here, you can see it looks nice, and you can see how the sun's shining on there. There's that dead tree right behind the truck. What are we seeing? Just the front of the truck. We don't see what's in the back of the truck. We don't see how long the truck is. We're just seeing the front. A one-dimensional image. And the fence is so distracting. If there was no fence and this truck was just in a paddock just by itself, it might look good like this. But this fence here is very distracting. This is the last photo I took. And within that 5 or 6 minutes that I took, the sun was just about over the mountain in the back, and you can see the sun has lost its strength, and it's a fairly flat image because I'm shooting again nearly side on. Now I'll show you the two files that I really like. The raw file, just convert to JPEG, no editing. The photo finished in Adobe Lightroom, and then when I took it over to Photoshop and I use Content Aware to remove what I didn't like in the photos. This is the raw file. Looks fairly flat. Look how much it's popped up. Look on the right, we've got that dead tree there, we've got power lines in the background. On the left, there's another dead tree, there's a power pole sticking on top of the bonnet, and there's power lines running across. Now look, we've gotten rid of all the distraction in the background, and this looks really nice. This would look beautiful printed. My wife really likes this image. Now this is the image that I like. You can see, raw file, very flat. This is why we shoot in RAW. We can bring out so much detail. And look at the amount of detail that I've brought out in this photo here. Look how the fence just runs along. It just joins into the truck. It's really emphasizing the truck, and low down, it gives the truck a bit of extra height. It looks mean, you know, like the mean red truck. This is the finished image. You can see I've put a frame around it to show that this is my final image, and the image that I will upload to Facebook and I'm sharing here. And I believe this is the image that I'm going to print for my office. Now I've taken some creative imagination. I've used one of my sky photos. In Photoshop you can replace skies, and Photoshop gives you quite a few skies to replace, but it's so easy to find some of your photos that you can put a sky into. This was a sunset image. When we're replacing sky, we have to think about the way the sun is shining. You can see the sun is shining from right to left in this image, and the sky is doing the same thing. The sun is shining from that side. This one here, I've decided to go monochrome, black and white. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Leave it in a comment. Which one do you like best? Do you like the colored one, or do you like the monochrome? And I didn't go overboard in the monochrome. Sometimes black and white images, you add a lot of texture and all that. I didn't want to do that. I want to keep the images fairly similar. As you can see, it didn't take me long. 5-6 minutes. I grabbed 8 photos, different positions, and I end up with 2 great photos of the big red truck. I hope this video has been of value to you, and if it has, give it a big thumbs up. If you've got any comments or feedback, leave it in the comments section below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.